Okay, here we are, about an hour later. Let's take a look what's happened under our towel. Ooh, look at that. Double the size. It has risen lots, which is great. Look at that. Beautiful, hey? Double in size. Okay, remember, if you had it in the Ziploc bag, it will have filled up that bag. Okay, so you would just take that out and hopefully you greased it enough that it will not have stuck. Okay, but now you want to take your fist and you want to punch that dough down. Now one big punch is enough. You don't want to punch it all out because you don't want to punch all the air bubbles out. But what we're doing this for is to get rid of any big air pockets, okay? So sometimes there's a really big air pocket in there. So we want to punch it down. So you take your fist and just punch it down into the middle. And you'll see it's like a deflated pillow. Okay, and then we're going to take that dough out and knead it for one more minute just to again get rid of that really big bubble. So just gently now knead it, push, fold, turn for 1 minute. We're going to shape the rolls that you want. Okay, so on the back of the recipe, or page 2 of the recipe, if you're looking at online, it has some different options you can do. So there you go. So you don't need very much. Just make it nice and smooth again. Okay. You're going to divide the dough into about 16 to 24 pieces. Okay. So these are going to make small rolls. You can make them bigger, of course, if you want, but it's going to take longer to bake. Okay. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So when you divide your bread, it's always better to cut rather than to rip. So I'm going to just use this bench scraper. You can just use a knife, but not on the counter. Remember, if you're going to use a knife, cut it on a cutting board. Okay, so let's divide that in half. Just push down hard on that. Okay, and then we'll do that in half again. Okay, and then you can decide what kind of rolls you like. There, I'm going to show you all of the options that's written on the page. The knot roll, the cloverleaf roll, and I'll even show you, you can actually use this dough just to make some fun things too. So you can use that to braid, you can use it for animals. I used to do that with my kids. It's kind of fun. At this time of year, you can make little fun shapes and animals. So lots of stuff you can do with this dough because it's a really basic bread dough recipe. So that's your 16 pieces, right? Okay, so you take one of those and you can roll it, okay, into a 30 centimeter long piece. So roll that 30 centimeters is like the size of a ruler, remember? So keep that in mind. The reason why we want it fairly long is because when you roll it or tie it up in a knot, and then when it grows again, the second rising, it will fill in and get really thick. Okay, so, you know, about a ruler length. And I'm rolling back and forth and pulling at the same time. Okay, so this one, it just says tie each one into a knot. So there's lots of different options you can do for knots. Cloverleaf rolls, those are pretty easy. So you're just going to take each one and divide it into 3 equal sized balls. So you're going to roll those up between your hands. What I like to do is tuck in any rough edges so it's a nice smooth ball. You see how I've tucked the raw edges underneath? Okay, so there's one ball. And then one last one. See, this one's almost already into a ball. So I just pull those edges under. Doesn't really matter what the bottom looks like, it's what the top looks like. So kind of push those together, and then those will be what they call a cloverleaf roll. Okay, got to really kind of push it together a little bit so that it sticks. Otherwise, those will be 3 little buns that are just going to fall apart. Okay, so there's another option. And then your last one is just an oval roll. Okay, so you just take one of those and you shape it again into an oval. So see, again, I take those edges and tuck them under and just shape it into an oval. Okay, you can roll it a little bit if you want. Tuck it under, and there we go, oval shaped roll. Okay, now this one you can choose to, see, I'm even going to roll it a little bit. There we go. It's almost like a mini French loaf, very little one. Okay, so this one you can choose to do a slice, and I'm going to use a sharp knife. Okay, I happen to have this mini serrated knife, but use a sharp knife, and you can just cut a line on top. Okay, and that'll give you that sort of look on top. Cut through like that, and there, it's like one of those little mini French loaf. Okay. Don't forget, again, these are going to double in size. So they look small now, but the second rising, they're going to double in size again. Okay, so that's got that one, and we can put a glaze on after. It shows you on the recipe what to put on after. Just to mention, your balls that you're not using, make sure they are covered with the damp towel so that they don't dry out, because otherwise they're going to be hard to roll into a nice shape if they've got a sort of crust on them. Okay, so keep them under the damp towel while you're working with the buns and shaping your rolls. What else can I show you? Oh, and I'll show you one more. I'll use this ball actually, because it looks kind of round already. And like I said, you can do a little animal, which I've done when my kids were little. They really liked this. Okay, yes. So just make a round shape, and you're going to guess what this is. Okay, 2 slashes across, and then 2 slashes across this way. And you do need to make the slashes quite deep because, like I said, when the dough rises a second time, those slashes might just grow together. Okay, so these you're all going to put onto a greased pan or a pan covered with parchment. Okay, you're going to put them on here evenly spaced, and you're going to let them rise a second time. Okay, so we'll put that one on there, the little turtle guy. You may need to take a little bit of water and glue those parts together. A little water will help, or just roughen up the edge to have them stick a bit better. So you see this part, if it's sticky, it will, roughen that up. Okay, so at this point, you're going to let it rise a second time. So back on the first page, it's step number 2. Once shaped, you're going to place them about 5 centimeters apart, because again, don't forget they grow. So I think I need to give a little more space to those ones here. Pretty close. Okay, so about 5 centimeters apart because they are going to grow. Okay, and then you're going to cover it with plastic, or you can use your damp tea towel again. Okay, so I can use this. And I will just cover that up once it's filled up. Okay, cover that up. Okay, here are the buns now after about 20 minutes. And what I did in the oven is I put in a warm tray of water to help keep the oven warm. So I didn't turn it on. It's just my regular oven. I didn't preheat it or anything. But I thought I want to rush things a little bit. I was in a bit of a hurry, so I put in a tray of warm water. So that would also help put some warmth into the oven. So you'll see that they're a lot bigger than they were before. Okay, I'll put them sideways there so you can see. Right, so they're about double in size. I have my glaze ready that I'm going to put on after they're baked. Okay, so this is, I chose the sweetened glaze, that's on your recipe. That is 15 ml sugar and 30 ml milk. In the oven for about 15 minutes, and then we'll check on them after that. Okay, here they are out of the oven after 15 minutes. They don't look very brown, but there is a hue of golden brown, and yeah, these are very hot, but I wanted to show you what the sound should sound like. Do you hear that hollow sound? That's how we know that it is baked all the way through. Now for a bit of a golden color, we can brush the glaze on, and that should give it a better color. Okay, oh. And yes, it will be hot, so do be careful. We're going to pop this back into the oven for a few minutes just to cook that glaze on. Okay, so let's do that fairly quickly, and then I'll show you after what it looks like. Okay, so that's the glaze after about 5 or so minutes. It might take a little longer to get it golden brown, and if you want to bake the first baking a little longer, it would have been a little darker as well. Okay, so let's cut into one. And there is your beautiful airy pockets. You see those gluten strands right there? That's what's holding all that air in. Of course, you can make it a lot healthier by adding whole wheat flour or other grains. It just might not rise quite as much, might be a little bit heavier, but much healthier. All right, hope you had fun making those, and show me a picture if you like on your Instagram. Don't forget to post on your Instagram.